Okay, there we go. I think we're good to go now. Hopefully everything is working as intended. It looks like my audio is working. And we're going to just be getting right into this. I feel a little bit off today, but I'm going to stream anyways. Try to get something done. It is also chilly. It has been so cold this morning, and my heating is not working. So bundle up and we should be good to go. So today we are going to be working on my Crystalis project again. I've been putting a lot of time into this. I really want to get it working and get the prototype done because it looks like a lot of people have been interested. I've been getting a lot of comments on it recently. And I am actually pretty excited. I really want to get this done. Hey, welcome to the stream. I didn't see you come in. Let's see. I just tuned in. Hello from Time Studio. Oh yeah, welcome. I've seen you around. And hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Glad to see people already in. We are going to be getting in, and I want to spend a little bit of time working on this project. We might get sidetracked. I'm kind of just feeling like doing anything today, but I do want to get some work done on this. Also, before we get too far into it, I want to show you what I've done. I've done a little bit of work. As you can see, the trees, I went back and fixed this like I said I would last stream. And what I did is I just took a texture I made, so a pixel art texture. Oh yeah, and glad to help with that. I should make some more. I have a couple of more tutorials I need to make. Hopefully I can get to that at some point. So for the trees, as you can see, if I just tab into edit mode, if I can actually click on them. Having a hard time selecting them here. Oh yeah, I got to make sure that I actually can actually see what I'm doing. So for the trees, I did a plane. It looks a little bit messy here, but each one of these is just a single plane that I added just a tiny bit of geometry to shape it. And then I was able to just take my pixel art and stretch it into some pine trees. And I think that looks a lot better than it did before. The last trees are pretty bad. It's also not even it's like a fifth of the polys that the last trees were. For these weren't too bad. I mean, there are a lot of polys, but I think it'll be okay for now. And all I did was make him a little bit taller for this new character model so that the character can actually wade through him. Because in the original game, if you walk into the bushes, your character actually slows down. So I need to add a mechanic and an animation to do that. Thank you. Basically, it's just I just doing my low poly modeling style along with the original textures. You can see that I have a little bit of texture smearing over here, and I need to go through and fix some of these. Also, a little bit of blurriness up here. Some of it doesn't matter too much because it's going to be at this angle, so this top-down view. So some of the textures I don't have to worry about it so much. So that should be all right. I do have these little rock piles I need to go through and probably fix those, but I think everything else looks like it's pretty much where it needs to be. I also need to finish adding hitboxes, and so here's how I'm doing the collisions for this game. Usually with Blender or UPBGE, you can just take the model itself and make it automatically does the collisions for you. A lot of the times you don't have to worry about it so much. In Armory, it's a little bit different, and collisions I have found are pretty intensive, so you want to kind of keep it as clean as possible. And I actually got the idea because of a video I saw on Dark Souls. There was a breakdown video, I think it was on Dark Souls either 1 or 2, and showing how the collision boxes are made and how they actually did the collisions. So I took the concept that I learned from that kind of video that was discussing it, and I'm doing the same thing with this. So basically I have a collection here called hitboxes, and you can see right here, these are all the hitboxes for the town. So I just basically took primitives and am just blocking off all of the buildings, all of the fences. You can see have these little outlines. These are just meshes, and then I have them turned onto wireframe. So if I go over to my physics property or my object properties, you can see that if I turn it to textured, it is literally just a cube that I stretched out and then just put a wireframe around it and made it so it didn't render in the game engine. But they work pretty good. Here, let me show you kind of how the town is looking. Collisions are very nice and tight. Nothing kind of jitters around, which is really good. and everything's working. You can see that my character does have an animation. I do not have the animation set up. In fact, that's kind of what I want to do today and focus on, is trying to make an animation system for this. But as you can see, I can no longer just walk through stuff. I do need to make it so in town, the character won't be holding the sword. So in the original game, the character kind of doesn't have a sword in his hand all the time. Thank you. Glad you like it. You can also see that I need to put collisions on the flower boxes. I don't have those on yet. And I was kind of thinking about making the flowers rotate towards the camera so it has a kind of billboard effect, but I may or may not do that. But as you can see, all the buildings now have collisions on them. I can't walk through stuff. I also, I did this off camera, didn't do this on stream. You can see that the character has moving directions. This took me a little while. I think it took me about 2 or 3 hours to kind of figure out and make a system that worked really well. Again, I am just also learning Armory 3D. I've used it for a little bit, but I'm not very proficient in some of the logic and some of the nodes. So doing this took me quite a while to figure out. But it works pretty good, and all it is basically and it was actually easy. So I was trying all these super advanced, like, all these node things. Let me just show you what I'm using for this. If I go over to my code window here, we can see that this is how I'm playing the walk animation currently. I'm going to change this. I think I want to do a speed. So using properties, I want to like calculate the player speed and then play animations depending on the speed. I think that'll be a little bit better. But for the look directions, reminds me of Stardew Valley. Yeah, it does. Stardew Valley kind of has that. In fact, this is actually a little bit less resolution. I think this is 8-bit, and Stardew I think is either 32 or 64. I can't remember. But I mean, yeah, it's just that kind of NES style. If you were to look at, let me just pull up. I'll move this out of the way so it's not in the way. If I just open my textures, you can see this is what it looks like in the game. Like, this is the original NES map. And this is what your character would be. Oh, yeah. I think it looks good, too. I think it looks pretty good. This is like the original game. Your character spawns here and then walks through this little area. You run into an NPC, kind of sees you and runs off. Zelda vibes, yeah. Very much. This was in the 80s. Like, this is kind of Zelda. I think this and Zelda were released very close together. I think Zelda was really, what was it? Was it 82 that Zelda was released? I actually want to look this up. Zelda release. Zelda release. No, not not Breath of the Wild. I want Zelda 1. Not timeline either. My browser's not doing it. Zelda 1. There we go. Zelda 1 was released in 86, and then let's see when Crystalis was released. Crystalis. So, okay, so 86 was Zelda, and then Crystalis was released in the 90s, in 1990. So a few years in between. So, but still on the same console, which is pretty cool. Anyways, let's get back to this. I also did fix the lighting in the game. Last stream, the lighting for this project was pretty bad. It was pretty dark. So I added a sky, as you can see. Your player will never see the sky, but it's there. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I was going to show you the movement directions. So something I really love about Armory, and this is a feature that I hope someday is in UPBGE, if the nodes get when the nodes get updated, is these call groups. So you can create a group tree here from selected nodes, and it basically takes all the nodes and combines them into one node, which is really cool. So if I go to edit tree, you can see this is the movement code for the movement directions. And all I'm doing is I'm taking my keys, and you can click on your call group node start here. And if you go to node, you can change the labels. So I just have my key directions and then the objects that I want to, like functions method. Yeah, very similar. Like if you were, I guess my example would be like for me, if you're using like C# or something and you have your methods and all that, it's very similar to that, but in the node style. and it's very good for keeping things clean. Because a lot of the times you'll have a simple mechanic that has a ton of nodes, and it's all this spaghetti, and it gets really messy, and you have to put it over here way in the corner where you don't have to look at it all the time and not clutter up. With this, you can just convert it all into one node, and then you can have your output. So if you had like a function that says, okay, this is going to happen, but I also want to connect it to something else later on, you can put the output into this group output node. So I could take the set rotation out and just plug it in there, and now I can access this. If I go back to my script, you can see I can now access this on the outside of this call group node. Very cool. So I'm just going to get rid of that since I don't need it. And I will just delete it from here. I don't know if I can actually. Well, it's there now. Whatever. We'll leave it. It's fine. Very cool stuff though. Really like it. I think I also did this. I had one other project where I had a dialogue system, and I use the call groups for that as well. And it just keeps everything nice. And then you can just type in what you need, and it would just work. Duplicate it and move on. So the basic functionality here is you can see I have my rotation, and all I'm doing is getting the object rotation. Let me just move this out so you can see it better. All I'm taking is the armature's rotation data, whatever direction the armature is facing, taking that, and then I'm lerping using a rotation math node, and grabbing the object location of my movement or my direction. So if I go into here, you can see that I have my direction collection here, and I can actually turn this back on. It's just a cube that's hidden behind the player, and you can just hide that again. So it grabs the direction of that cube and then takes the direction of the armature and then just lerps the rotation to that cube. So the character will always move towards that cube. So that's the basic idea of the direction and rotation of the player. Very cool, very simple. Doesn't really take a whole lot. And then the armature just sets the rotation to that lerp, which is really cool. So let's go back to the other logic here. The slow camera, pretty easy. We did that on stream. Very simple. All you have is an on update, and then you're setting the camera to the player using a tween to slow down the movement. Alrighty, so now that we have that, I do need to develop, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. Animations in Armory always get me. It's always kind of frustrating, and mostly it's because it's very weird. So if we go to the animation tab, you can animate your character, do all that stuff, put it just like in UPBGE, put it in your action editor. You have all of your animations here. Pretty similar. So you take those, and in Armory, you actually put them in the NLA editor. So I can open up the NLA editor here. If I go over to wherever it is. See, I never used, there it is, nonlinear action editor here. And you can see all of your animations are in this NLA editor. So you just stash them away here. Then you can play your animations. The thing is with Armory, and something that I had to learn, is you actually have to take the whole timeline into account. Whatever your longest animation is, you need to make sure that you put that into your logic. So if we go back to the code section, you can see that my walk animation is set to an end frame of 120, but the walk animation is only 60 frames. You have to do this, otherwise when you play the idle animation, the idle animation will only play 60 frames of that animation. You also want to make sure that your timeline is set to the longest animation you have. So I have it set to 120 frames since that's what my idle is. So you definitely want to make sure that all that is done. Otherwise, you'll have animations that cut off without finishing. Alrighty. So now what I need to set up, right now I just have it set to this call group here, which is very simple. It's just an OR, an OR gate, on update, and then these keys. So when you press these keys, the character plays the walk animation. The problem is, well, this does work, and it works all right. you can't do the same thing for the idle animation or letting off the keys. You can't just use a false because it just doesn't work. In fact, if false, if default is null, maybe if I just do false is false, there we go. And maybe if I put this true in here, say if is false, then play the idle animation. We'll play the game and see what happens. I don't think this will work. So what I'll probably have to do is set up a, let's see here. Oh, nope. It plays for a second and then just goes straight into the idle. Now something I might try is if I go into here, let's see if I turn the W onto down instead. Work. Yeah. Sometimes we just have to hope things work. Because the majority of the time it just doesn't work. Okay. And our character just kind of does nothing. So another thing that you can't do in UPBGE, this is another difference. Usually you would have it on update, you'd have your key on down, so that way other keys don't interrupt that key, or if you switch to a different key, that key automatically takes over. You cannot do that. What is the main difference between Unreal and UPBGE? They're two different game engines, and they have two different tool sets. I would say that I don't know. Unreal is a weird engine. I think it's just way more complex than it needs to be. I feel like they could definitely simplify it a lot more for everyday users, maybe make an Unreal Lite. But Unreal Engine just has a bunch of stuff. You could do visual scripting with it. I found it very confusing. I don't know why visual scripting in Unreal is so confusing, but it just is. They have like 1,000 nodes for different stuff. It's crazy. Unreal Engine is a beefy boy. It is honestly just humongous. Just downloading Unreal Engine, you need to make sure that you have enough hard drive space. There's a big difference. Unreal Engine is like 30 gigs and UPBGE is 1 gig. So there's a big difference for you. All right, so let's set up a movement system. Let's see if I can actually grab the character's speed or make a speed variable. 30 gig. Yeah, it'd be beefy. It'd be big. Downloading Unreal is... You're downloading a full game to use Unreal Engine, basically. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like, do I want to play CSGO or do I want to download Unreal? Choose. Actually, CSGO might be smaller than Unreal. Anyways. I also need to do a background. I think I need to put like a half transparent on the chat. You guys can see that it kind of blends in a little bit too much in the background. It's a little bit strange. I might fix that later. Alrighty. So I need to figure out the speed. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking my keyboard inputs, I'm converting those outputs into Boolean. So I'm turning it into a true or false value. Then I'm taking that true or false value and subtracting it from each other. So A and D is being subtracted. So it's going to be 1 or -1. Then I'm converting those that math into a vector on the X and Y axis, then normalizing the vector and sending it through this math node, which this technically would be your speed variable. Problem is, I need to make it so either that's going to be on or off. What I might do is make a float variable that connects into this using a separate vector, or using just a vector node. So if I duplicate that, what I could do is plug this into this value. I have it at 0.015. So what I might end up doing is, let's spread this out just a little bit, make sure that it's a little bit easier to get a hold of here. And we'll just put that under there. So if I add in a float value, because vectors on the X, Y, and Z use floats. So I'll take that, put that there, connect that into the X, duplicate it again, and connect it into the Y. What I actually might do first is To make it a variable that we can change, we need to go into our Armory panel here, and at tree variables, we need to make a new variable and call this speed. There we go. And it'll change the color of it, and you can actually change it to whatever you want. So you could make speed like green or whatever. I guess it's just preference. I'll just do like a dark blue for my speed variable. Then what I can do is you can add a getter and a setter. Setters, it's just what it says. It's a set variable. So you have your get variable node here, and then you have a value socket that's open, and then you have a input that you can set that variable on a condition. So what I want to do is just say speed. We're going to duplicate this. In fact, actually, we want it to be the same on both, so I can just put it in like that. And if I wanted to, I could set this this variable over in the panel itself. So I could just come over here and do 0.15. It's kind of like a tutorial. I guess I'm just making a live tutorial now. Kind of explaining what I'm doing here. There we go. So this speed variable, now that we have it set back to 1.5, should work. So if I just go in and play the game, we'll wait for it to compile. So it takes like 10 seconds for that to happen. Bum, bum, bum. So now our character still moves properly, which is pretty good. This will also let us change this variable. In the original game, there is no speed difference, I don't think. Or maybe there's a speed. Maybe you can actually, there might be an item that changes your speed. Let me look it up really quick. Just to make sure. Crystalis, speed item. Let's see if there's anything that changes. Speed run. No, I don't think there's a way to change your speed in the game. You can get an item to jump, though. So we do have to, there's jumping boots that allow you to jump over enemies and certain obstacles. I think there's holes in the ground, stuff you can jump over in the original game. So we might we'll add a jump for when you have that. Otherwise, you can't jump. Anyways, so we have our speed variable here now. Something I can do, or what I might do, is make it so I can change this variable depending if the keyboard is pressed or not. So let's just add in, I don't know how I could do a debug for that. I guess I could I'll just print it in the console. So we'll open up the console later. For the debug. I do kind of wish that they had a debug system like UPVGE where it just pops up on the screen, but what are you going to do? Can't do much about it. Let's just add in actually we'll just get a setter here. Put that right there. So right now we have our speed right there. We want to be able to change the speed variable. In fact, let's just change this to 0 to start out with. There we go. So when I press a key, in fact, we might actually be able to reuse our call node here. So let me just, maybe we'll keep both of those. Let's grab this and move it up. And let's just bring this outside of this for now. So remove from frame, bring it out here. And what I'm thinking is if I have a key and I press a key down, and we will actually turn this to down. Maybe it shouldn't be down though. We'll try started to begin with. I'll try a couple of different things here. Then we want to set our variable, so I need to grab a float value. And this doesn't have to be our getter, so we can actually just have a default float. Plug that into the value. So when I press a key down, I want it to be equal to 0.15. There we go. So theoretically, we should start at 0, and then once I press a key down, it should go to our speed value, or it should update our speed value. Is Armory your preference over UPVGE, or does it just suit the game type better? Sorry for the questions. No worries. All questions are welcome. I love answering questions. In fact, it gives me something to talk about on stream. So I'm not just sitting here doing stuff. So UPVGE and Armory, in fact, the simple answer for that is yes, I'm using it for this project because the tools and render type that I want is in Armory. Armory just has a little bit more to offer for this project. I actually made this project originally in UPVGE, and I ran into some pitfalls and some issues that I couldn't resolve at the time. Also, I was having issues because I found out UPVGE, at least from my own experience, does not like Windows 11. So the project just did not work. I was crashing all the time. I think I could have fixed a lot of the issues just by going back to Windows 10, but I ran into a lot of issues and ended up abandoning the project ultimately. And that's why I decided to switch over to Armory, because those pitfalls I could avoid and I can add a little bit more to it. I also wanted to do some stuff with particle systems that you can't really do in UPBGE, but is available in Armory. So I'm going to do some particle system stuff for some visuals. I would say that if I was doing this in UPBGE and I could continue and do my original workflow, I could get this project done a lot quicker. I'm a lot faster in UPBGE than I am in Armory. A lot less development time. Alrighty. Ultimately, I think it was the render engine that is the reason why I had to switch for this project. Yeah, hope that that answers the question a little bit. It's kind of just my on-the-fly response. So now I'm going to actually duplicate this set variable node. Oh, I'm glad it was informative. So now I'm going to duplicate the set variable node, and this is false. So if we're not pressing the key down, actually that might not be what I want. We will try it out, maybe. Let's just make this print as well. So we'll put down a print node, and we'll print this to the console so we actually see what our variable is doing. I'm going to take this and just plug it into the string, and I want this to happen every time this is updated. So let's just put it on update node. If I can find it, there's one. So let's just plug that in on the update. So this is going to happen all the time. I remember BGE was built in 2.7 Blender. Yeah, way back in the day. I used to love BGE. Back in the day when you had to go from render view to the Blender game engine, you had to actually physically switch it. And then from yeah. Oh man. from Blender render to Blender game. Alrighty. So now that we're printing it, let's play the game and see what our values are doing. See if our debug actually shows us something. Ooh. Getting tired already. Okay, so our animation's still playing as it's going to. I totally forgot to turn on the debug console, so let's turn that on. There we go. So currently it's at 0, which is good. Let's play the game here. I'm actually going to put the debug console on my other monitor, and I'll bring it over once if it changes. Okay, so when we move, our variable now changes to 0.15, which is exactly what we want. Problem is, I did release the key, and it is still 0.15. So that's going to be an issue there. Let's close this. That means that our on release is not working. So something I might change is the down, or change it from started to down. On the W key, let's see if that gives us a different result. And we'll move this back over here for now. Maybe I'll put it about halfway. There we go. So when I move, it is 0.15, and it just stays there. Okay, so we're going to have to make it so when the key is released, we're going to have to change that value back down to 0. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Otherwise, it almost makes me wonder if I should have done a different process for the movement. This works pretty good, but it doesn't give us a whole lot of control over the direct or the actual speed and velocity of the character. So I'm kind of just cheating it and faking it a little bit. Anyways, let's disconnect these for now and move these down here. And then just add another getter here. This will just make it a little bit cleaner so it's not in the way. We don't have to worry about it. So I think what I will do, let's delete that is false node. So when we press the key, we want it to set it. And when we release the key, how can I nodes scare me? Yeah, they're okay. I mean, I definitely think that if you're looking at a script, it can be a lot easier to understand. Like I actually don't mind the code. In fact, at some point, I still need to learn it. I don't know the syntax for Armory because it uses hacks, and I don't know hacks. But it looks very similar to. In fact, here, let's just pull a script up here. Maybe if I can find one. So here's hacks. So this is our main function here. This is kind of the main game loop. Use nodes used to scare me too, or used to scare me too. It's cool for me now. I got used to it. Yeah, I think that once you get used to the nodes, it's very intuitive. Like things just kind of connect where they need to be, and you can do a little bit of mix matching, but for the most part, as long as the colors match, they will work together. And then it's just a matter of learning kind of what stuff does. It's not so bad. Something that gets me every time with hacks is the fact that you have to use the semicolon. And if you don't use it, then things just break. That's one thing I did like about Godot's GD script was you didn't have to worry about all these... you didn't have to end stuff with brackets or semicolons or anything like that. This does a lot. This reminds me a lot of C#, though. I feel like if you know C# then... Or Java. C# and Java, I'd say. These are very similar. Anyways, let's not focus on that too much. Let's move on. Maybe I'll put this false value in here. I'm kind of curious. Let's just put the false in there and see if that works. Let's see. Okay, if I plug this false into here. Oh, I need this to be 0. Oh, maybe that was my mistake. Maybe it's because I didn't have the right value plugged in. So if it's false, it'll set it back to 0, hopefully. Sometimes things just don't work out the way it's supposed to, but we'll see. Okay, let's open up the console again and see what's going on. We're at 0. And if I move, we're at 0.15. And then if I stop moving, okay. Oh, and it worked. And we're back down to 0. So I wish there was an easier way to show this. I wish I could keep the console on top. But when we're not moving, it's 0. And then when we are moving, it is 0.15. And then when we stop moving, it is back to 0. Awesome. That's exactly what we wanted. So what we can do with this now is actually play our animations depending whether our speed variables, or play them off of our speed variables. So coming back down to my animations, I want to make sure that these are down here and not mixed with my other nodes. In fact, I'm just going to put these in and Control J. There we go. Put this over here and call it speed, I guess. Will be fine for now. Now what I need to do is grab a gate. And I need to make sure, or what I need to do is evaluate this. So we need to take in a float. Then add a float. Now I need to get a getter. And I need to get my speed variable. So if the speed variable, and the way I believe this works, and if I'm explaining this right, when you have the first variable be speed, or your getter, it's basically going to take your speed variable and say, if speed is equal to float, or equal to your other value. So it's always going to be the first one is going to, or man, my brain is not working today. I cannot explain to save my life. Whatever the first value is going to be whatever. I explained it good the first time. I'm just going to leave it at that. Not worry about it. It'll come to me. It'll come to me eventually. Now we do have this condition that we need to set. So we need to be able to evaluate our condition. what's going to happen to trigger this? If speed is equal to, say, 0.15, since we have it as a static value, we already know what that's going to be. We could also set this to, if it is greater than 0, then play the walk animation. You could also use this if you have a run animation, and you can say if it is greater than your walk speed, then play the run animation. So that's another use for that. But now, let's just say... Oh, okay, so we cannot use an onUpdate here. We cannot put this in the update loop because the animations, for whatever reason, will try to play every single frame, and they'll just start over from the beginning, and your character freezes in whatever the first frame is. It's very annoying and very unnecessary. So we actually have to make a Boolean, I think, and put it on a, let's see, if true. Let's go to logic. What are we going to use here? So we have a branch. Is true output. How do we do it on just one frame? Output sequence, merge, loop continue, branch. Crystalis is a must play for any retro game fans who Oh, okay. God, my brain is so slow I can't even read. It's a must play for any retro game fans who live action RPGs. Love this 3D remake. Thank you. I love seeing your comments on my on the streams. Good to see you here. I hope that I can actually do this game justice. It would be really awesome. And I want to definitely make it so people actually enjoy it. Even though this is going to take a lot of time to do. One weekend at a time. Alrighty, let's get back into this and see if I can make this work. How do I make this work? So I got my events. Let's say on... Oh, on event. Let's try an on event, actually. So I need this to happen only once. So I'm going to have it on int. I think I could do like a custom. Okay, you could do a custom and have something else, but we'll just do on int. And I want this to just be called walk. So when the character gets a event or receives a event called walk, I want to play the walk animation. So now, and also the... Wait a minute, could I do it that way? Oh, okay. So I think I figured this. I think I know how I'm going to do this, and it's going to be a little bit cleaner. Let's get this, and then we're going to say event. In fact, let me just go. I don't know the name of it. I got to actually do this. Send. Come on, come back here. Come on, son. I need to send event to... let's just do a global event. In fact, I could probably just send it to my player object or my armature. But just to be safe, we'll do a global. And I'm just going to copy this walk event here. Plug that into there. Now we need the in of our global event here. And we're just going to do this. And let's move this up to our speed variable here. And we're just going to say when true. This might have all been... Is it just me, or am I seeing some nodes that don't exist in UPBGE? No, it is not just you. It actually is a thing. In fact, some of them are named very similarly, but a lot of the nodes have different names and do different things. It is definitely not a one-for-one. The Armory, if I open this up, you'll see that there's actually more nodes in Armory than there are in UPBGE. There's a bunch of different stuff. Some of it is kind of the same, but because it's in a different language, some of the syntax and some of the wording is different for what this stuff is. But it does have a lot of also similar things, like you have your traits. These are kind of similar to what UPBGE has. You have some scene stuff that's kind of similar, except you actually have more scene options. UPBGE doesn't have scene options like Armory does. And you got some world options. You can change the sky, like the sky that I have in the game. You can change world strength and stuff like that. as well as it has the whole process tab that you can go through. You can change your rendered settings, and you can change, I believe, your canvas size and resolution. All sorts of stuff. But yeah, there are different nodes than UPBGE. So now I need to actually figure out if what I'm doing is actually worth it. Let me just delete these, and I just want to send the global event walk. I want this to happen once, so whenever that happens. And what I'm going to do is actually set another one and call it idle. So we'll send a idle, and I'll just copy that. In fact, we'll just copy the name. Then what I want to do is say, if not, if this is equal to false, then play the idle animation. Then I'll come down here and then on event, plug that into the idle animation, and we'll just do idle down here as well. Let's press play and see if this actually works. This is also a fun thing, figuring out how much work you actually have to do to make something work. Okay, so, okay, interesting. So I need to set my keys to the down position, because as you can see, it only happens once. If I do press W though, it works. But another thing you can see, it looks like our animations are frozen. So they're happening every single frame, which is not good. So you see that they're just kind of stuck in the first frame position. So we got to change that. This is happening on int, which means it should only happen once, theoretically. So we got to figure out why it's happening every frame. So if I come back all the way up to here again, at least we know they are working though. Another problem is we need to come in here and say on down instead of on started, because this way it's always changing the character's speed to whatever value it needs to be. So let's change that. There we go. So now I can use all my keys again. And this will also change the speed variable. Alrighty. But again, we still do not have working animations. And this is kind of, I think, been the bane of my existence when it comes to this engine. If I were to say anything, doing animations is the hardest thing I've had to do so far. It reminds me of Final Fantasy. Yeah, it's kind of similar in a way. The art style is a little bit different than the Final Fantasy games, but a lot of those games back then kind of all had very similar art styles. A lot of them were all made by very similar companies or people who worked in the same companies. So they probably were swapping artists and stuff like that. But yeah, Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, a lot of those games, very similar art styles. Alrighty. Let's see if I can actually fix my issue. So on initialize should be, how can I make this only happen once? It perturbs me in a way. It makes me sad. And we're good. And it's still broken. So what I think is happening is, even though it's on initialize, never play Dragon Warrior. Yeah, Dragon Warrior, it's kind of an old one. I think it wasn't that unpopular back in the day, but it definitely wasn't quite, I don't think it was nearly as popular as like Final Fantasy was at the time. And I think Dragon Warrior was actually renamed to Dragon, what is it? Dragon Quest? Is that what they called it now? Is it, what's that? Is it, it might be Dragon Quest. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me see. Yeah, Dragon Quest. So they made a bunch of Dragon Quest 3D remakes and stuff. Or I think it is, at least. Let me fact check myself. Yeah, it is Dragon Quest. So I believe they changed the name from Dragon Warrior, or I might be thinking of the same thing. I think it was changed from Dragon Warrior to Dragon Quest. Is what they did. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Alrighty. Yeah, because Dragon Quest has the same slimes that Dragon Warrior does. That's right. They reused those. They have some of the same monsters. Or I think all of them are the same. And I think they renamed it because I think they renamed it when they sent it over to the, I don't know, because Dragon Warrior also had an English version. Localization, I guess I should say. Anyways. So I think I know what's going on here, and I know why the animations are playing every single frame. So it's basically taking this input, and then these are all happening every single frame. So I need to figure out a way to either space them out so the animations can loop properly, or I need to figure out how to do this. Oh, wait a minute. I think if I do started for this, and then obviously I can't change this, so I'm going to duplicate it, remove from frame, and then I'm going to change this into a new one, key, and then anim. Then I'm going to change this one to, or leave this one on started, and then change this one back to down. So the speed will be okay now, and also I can use the same logic to trigger the animation events. If I can speak properly. So theoretically, it should only play our animations once when the key is pressed down, instead of doing it every single frame. So let's see if it happens. Otherwise, I'm going to have to figure out something else. Just play it. Just play the animation. I like the 3D in Dragon Quest 3. Yeah. Let me take a look at it. I think I actually just saw it. And got Dragon Quest 2, Dragon Quest Builders. I guess I could just put a 3 on the end of it and be done with it. Oh yeah, it's kind of let me just pull up a image of it. And open up this tab here. Come on, internet. Apparently my internet doesn't like it when I stream and open videos at the same time. I won't steal this guy's content, but Octo Travelers has a very, it's also that kind of same thing. The anticipation, I know, just waiting for me to pull up an application. It's just that this is Dragon Quest 3. And I really do like the art style where they have the characters that are like just 2D sprites in the 3D world. I would love to do a game like this. And I had an idea of building a game that was a... what are those games? You know those games like Tarkov where you go in and you loot and then you try to exfil? I wanted to make something like that, but with like this kind of style. So it'd be like a top-down or isometric game where you run around and you have to fight other players and try to loot areas. And then you had like magic and you had different weapon abilities and stuff like that. I think that could be a really cool game idea that I wanted to try doing. So thank you. I think that'd be cool if I could pull it off. And I think the hardest part would be the multiplayer and trying to do that. But I think it'd be a cool challenge. Player to launch to see what is working. Oh, no, I meant like waiting for the player to... Oh, yeah. If I can ever get this to work and get the animations to work properly, I had one other project a long time ago that I don't know where it is, where I actually had an basically I had to build like a animation controller with the logic nodes to make it work properly, and I have no idea how I did it. I did it like a year ago. So I'm trying to, I don't even, oh, it's so difficult. Let me turn this on to loop and see if that will work. The fact that I have time to take a drink. Oh, my camera broke. I think it's following me around now. Yeah, it is following me a little bit. Control C, Control V. That would be ideal. Idle animation's not doing anything. That's unfortunate. And oh man. Right now, the idle animation is fighting the walk animation. So we're still running into issues there. I need a I need an Armory 3D veteran to help me out. Where can I find somebody who's good at this engine? So I don't have to struggle for hours on end. Otherwise, let's see if let's just do something really bad here. Let's put a pulse on, and we'll say when we press the key, it'll start the pulse, and we'll put a pulse on this, and the animation is 60 frames, so it's going to be 1 second, a 1 second interval. Oh man, hope I'm not getting sick. And we'll say, because this is 2 seconds, so I'll put 2 seconds on here, and we'll say if false, it will have a interval. Then all we have to do is, if the idle is playing, then it'll stop that one, and if we're walking, it'll stop the idle. This is a horrible way to do this, by the way, but it might work. Hey, look at that. We have a character that's walking now, the animation. First try, let's go. And the idle animation works. I have no idea how beneficial this would be if you had a ton of other animations. In fact, it's probably going to be terrible when I add my attack animations. But as far as having a character walk around, it works. The dopamine. Oh, the excitement. Oh my goodness, I am so glad that worked. Now I need to actually animate the character to... I want to do like a slow animation walking through the bushes. Sometimes the scope of his genius knows no bounds. I wouldn't say that. I would not say I'm a genius. The fact that I had to stumble through that just to find a workaround that might not work properly. So we're going to leave it. We're just going to say good enough and Control J that, put that in a frame. And we're just going to leave it alone. So the next thing we need to do, I have to do a charge system. I have to make it so the character will charge a weapon, and then you get an ability where you can actually use your weapon as a charge attack. There's 3 or 4 stages for charge attacks. We have the no ability, so you can charge the sword, and it's just basically a sword slash. And then there is you can get the wind ball. It's either the bracelet, I think the wind ball, yeah. Once you get that, you can actually charge a projectile attack. And then there's like 2 stages on top of that projectile attack. So you can get a bracelet to upgrade it, and then there's another item you get to upgrade it one more time. And then there's 4 weapons. So there's 4 swords you can get. You can get the wind sword, the ice sword, the fire sword, and the lightning sword. And they all have their own abilities, and they have like stages to their abilities. Since the scope of this game, I'm going to do just to the first boss. We are only going to do the wind sword, and I don't know if you can actually upgrade the wind sword until you get to the second area. You can get the wind ball, which you use to destroy walls, to access other areas, but I think you're just stuck to that one, so I don't have to do too much for it. If I were to make the whole game, though, there's so much to add. I mean, it's just, I think it'd be impossible without, I'd have to work on it for like a year. So much. Is there a way to make overlay scenes in UPBGE? No, you cannot overlay scenes. So unless you're using the legacy version, UPBGE 2.0 or 2.5, you can do overlays there. But if you're using UPBGE 3.0 and above, there's no way to do it. There's no way to do over. You can. I lied to you. There is. You can overlay collections, but you cannot overlay scenes. And the overlay collection thing, I'm just gonna tell you now, it just is a bad deal. It just doesn't work. The amount of issues you run into, and you can only do one collection at a time, and then trying to delete collections and spawn collections, you end up crashing your game a ton. It's a pain. Nope, it's not. Yeah, it's completely different. Overlaying collections, overlaying scenes, nothing similar. The overlay scenes, like the old version had, just worked. It was just perfect. It did exactly what you needed it to do. But unfortunately, it just did not come with the new versions of UPBGE. Let me show you guys something. Why did they remove overlay scenes? I believe it wasn't by choice. So because there's such a big difference between the legacy version of UPBGE, or Blender, I mean, and the new version of Blender. The whole rendering, everything was changed in the 2.8 update. The whole thing was just revamped and changed. So I believe the code and the code that you needed to do the scene, to overlay scenes, was not available like this. It just wasn't available in the new versions. And I think it might have to do with the OpenGL version thing and the switch there. I could be wrong, but I think that might be it. So once they upgraded the OpenGL to, I think it's like 3.3 or something, it just didn't come with it. It's just not an option now. Why did so I think that, I just think that there's nothing they can do about it. Unless they probably rebuilt it and remade their own version of it for the new, for UPBGE 3.0 and up. If they did do that though, which I bet it would be a lot of work, I don't even know if it's a possibility, but it would definitely make quality of life in UPBGE a lot better. Whew, that was a lot of talking. That was a lot. Okay, so I prefer using BGE over UPBGE. I think I could understand that. I think there's some quality of life things that that UPBGE adds, but it definitely comes with a lot of stuff. Plus, BGE stops at 2.7, I believe, or 2.79. And UPBGE continues. Something I do wish, and this is just my personal opinion, I think. I do wish that they spent more time developing. Like, I feel like if they took 3.6, which I think is the current most stable version. I know a lot of people are using 4.0 now, or 0.42 for the UPBGE version. A lot of people are using that. It's very unstable, and stuff is still being developed. I hope they stay on it. I hope that when Blender, because they're kind of chasing Blender right now. They kind of chase the versions. Whenever Blender updates and gets a new version, they chase that and then make it compatible with UPBGE. I hope they just stick to 4.2 and then just flesh it out. Like, stick to it. I would actually prefer them not upgrading the tools and just upgrading the stability and making the engine more usable. Working on the renderer. Good times, yeah. But yeah, I just hope that they stick with one version and then just make it, take it, make it stable, make it work good. And maybe add new features to it. I don't know. I know it's a lot of work and it is just community based. It's kind of just people doing it on their own time. I don't know what the funding is like for it. So I mean, you can only ask so much for updates, but that's kind of the deal there. Alrighty. What am I doing? Okay, so I have a list of things that I need to actually get done for this project. So I need to add in the rooms. So all these houses you can enter and do stuff in. These three buildings down here, the inn, the armor shop, and the store, are all they're different than these houses. These two houses are just free roam houses. You can just walk in them and talk to NPCs. In this house, you actually get like 100, whatever their currency is, like $100 in this house. And it's funny, if you play your cards right and you start the game, you can actually progress really quickly, or you can spend the money on other stuff and then end up having to grind to actually complete the quest. It's kind of interesting that they give you that you can actually like just immediately progress, or if you mess up, then you have to grind for like 2 hours to get to the same spot. So this guy gives you $100. Then there is this little shed that you can enter. So there's 3 houses or 3 buildings to enter up here. You can later in the game you can come back, talk to this rabbit, and then in here there's the mayor of the town and like a kid you can talk to or whatever. I don't think he says anything. I think it's just like a one text box thing. But this is where you get your sword. So this is where your character gets the sword, so you can actually go fight enemies. So I need to add in some simple dialogue. I need to add the functionality for entering buildings, which I think what I'm going to do. And the reason I was actually thinking about putting my collision boxes in collections is so I can separate them out and turn off the collisions for areas that the character is not in. And this will save a ton of performance because physics calculations, as we all know, cost a lot. So we want to be able to turn those off and on depending on the areas we're in. So what I want to do is, instead of switching scenes, because switching scenes comes with its own issues, I want all the areas to be in the same map. So there's going to be this map here, and then off to the side is going to be 1 house, 2 houses, 3 houses, and then maybe the stores are over here. So they'll be out of the player's view, and we'll just turn the collections on and off so that they don't render. Another thing that's cool about the deferred renderer of Armory is it kind of cuts off anything that's not in frame. So if the object is not in the camera view, it doesn't render it. So it kind of occludes it. You don't have to worry about it. Saves a bunch of performance that way. Something the UPBGE doesn't do. UPBGE, if it's off camera, it's still being rendered and it's still taking up performance, especially collision data. So I would say that's another benefit to Armory. But I'm going to put the houses over here and then just take the character and spawn the character over where the house is or where that room is. So it'll kind of, maybe I'll do like a fade effect and just kind of set the position of the character. Nice and easy. Not having to do too much. So I think let's try that. Let's make a proof of concept here. I'm going to have to do a couple of things. I'm going to have to build another collection. I'll put, let's see, this is the Town of Leaf hitboxes. We got ground, which is just the whole world where the player can stand. And I will have to make the building. Okay, so let's just import this character, or import our stuff here. Do I have it as an FBX file? That is the question. And let me just pull this over here so I can dig through my stuff. Where do I have this saved? I think it's just on the desktop. Crystalis, FBX. And so I got shops, I got Town of Leaf, I have Leaf House. Oh, Leaf Houses. And then Mount Saber. So let's just import, turn off animations. I don't need that. Ignore leaf bones. Ignore armatures and import. So let's just import the Town of Leaf and see what happens. Okay. Here it is. So here are my houses with no textures, which is fine. We'll just add those in later. Now, I did change the scale of my map, so you can see that I actually scaled it up to 5, so I'm just going to take these and do the same. And I will select the ground plane here. Ooh, scale 5. Let me just set scale, and then scale 5. So I believe our stuff should be the proper size. Otherwise, we're going to be too big for our environment. Now what I need to do is go to File, clean up. I'm going to remove my recursive data blocks here. Hopefully it didn't just ruin my animations. I might have just made a mistake. Let me check. Hopefully I didn't just delete stuff. Walk, sword walk, charge attack, basic attack. We are good. Okay, so let's go back to code. Select my buildings here, and I need to actually find my missing files. So we're going to go to external data, and then find missing files. I need to go to my textures, which are probably going to be unbundled. Maybe not. Sources. This is fine. We'll just go to our Crystalis textures, and I need to import, or let's see, where did I put them? Here they are. So I need to do my town of leaf and shops, and find missing files. There we go. So we now have all the textures. Looks like they are blurry, so I'm just going to go over to my shading tab here and turn that from linear to closest, just to make them look nice in the viewport. Nice and crisp. There we go. So luckily I already built all this stuff, so I don't have to worry about that too much. I think what I'm going to do is delete these planes, because I don't really... Oh, maybe I want them. So these... Let's see. Oh. Interior look really nice. Thank you. I was actually pretty proud. Out of all the things I did for this project, the modeling I felt very proud of. Doing all that. Do you ever get emotionally connected to random projects? Every once in a while. I would say that definitely for this one, I put a ton of work. I think I put like 3 weeks of just building the world and building my assets for this thing. The amount of time I put into it. Yeah. One thing I do say is I do not give... I'm kind of bad about my projects. I will be working on something and I get bored too easily when it comes to projects. I'll have a project I spend like a month on, get really far in it, and then I'll just shelve it and never touch it again. It's kind of unfortunate. If I would have just taken the time and finished a game, I definitely would be a lot farther in my development journey. But I just didn't do it. So do your projects. If you make something and it looks cool and you're really enjoying it, stick to it and get it done. Otherwise you'll end up like me and just be... Does the shelving projects relate to a new idea or interest? I would say so. Like for me, I get a new idea in my head and it's like, oh, I want to do that. Or I've been working on something, I kind of get stuck on a mechanic that I'm trying to do, or I break something and I get kind of discouraged. I think of a new idea and I start working on that. So I would say definitely. I definitely get started on different projects. I have ADHD when it comes to working on projects, I would say. That's why I have a project folder with 300 projects in it. And probably more that got deleted on different hard drives. Okay, let's make sure. So when you add stuff in, you definitely want to make sure the face orientation's proper. So as we can see, we have these chairs, which are broken. These actually need to get fixed. So it looks like the top of the stool is going to be invisible. At least there's always something new to learn between every new project. In fact, there was actually a video that popped into my feed. It was kind of interesting from a small creator. Yeah, I got one of those folders. Yeah, everybody should have a folder with just 300 projects that never got finished. That's how you learn, is you just build a ton of stuff, and even if you don't finish anything, you learn something usually from each of the projects. But as I was saying, there was a smaller creator that I found that made a video about... what was the video about? I almost need to find it so I could link it. Basically about creating projects, and kind of the way you learn is just by creating a ton of small projects. I think it was like a list of things you need to do to build a game. And learning mechanics, you just need to do it. Just make like 300 small projects, all based on one mechanic that you want to make. Okay, you want to make a Spider-Man mechanic. Make a project dedicated to that one mechanic. Just make a web shooter. Make it happen. Do it. Even if it's not perfect, it might be completely buggy, but at least you have an idea of how to make it now. Or maybe you want to make some animation effects, or you want to do some particle effects or stuff like that. Just make a project dedicated to that. That's going to consume your soul. It is, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, if you want to make games, you need it to consume your soul. You need you need your projects to always be updating. And then eventually, when you've built all these projects, you have a bunch of tools, you have a bunch of mechanics under your belt, you know how to do it. Then you can stick to one project and then make that project with all the knowledge that you now have collected. And it'll probably take about a year or two to get all those built, especially if you're just focusing on it, you're just getting it done. And I hope that eventually I will be able to focus on a project and get it done. My greatest example of not finishing a project is that PT on the toilet project. I have some new mechanics, but I just haven't got it to a point where I want to release it again, and now it's sitting there collecting dust, and hopefully I'll get back to it, but maybe I won't. And that's another thing. Maybe I need to try not to release things that aren't finished that I know I'm probably not going to get back to. I have a hard time releasing things that it's like, oh, I'm just not going to finish it, so I don't want to make something that people are going to download and it's just not finished, and never will get updated again. Yeah. Let's fix this chair, this stool. I need to just flip these normals here. Okay, yeah, let's just flip those. Mesh, normals, and flip. There we go. Looks like we have a piece here that needs to either get deleted. Let's see. Yep, we'll just flip that. So, mesh, normals, flip. And looks like my curtains also need to get fixed, and my painting. So let's just recalculate those normals. You'll probably publish a game before we get GTA 6, to be honest. I think the world will implode before GTA 6 comes out. I mean, that game has been, how many years has it been? Like almost 16 years? Or is it 13 years? 2012. When was that? I don't think GTA 6 is a pipe dream at this point. Maybe it'll come out. Maybe. And it's going to be cool. Or it's going to look like GTA 5. 2012? Yeah. I was a kid. I was like a child playing GTA. Let's see. GTA 5. When did that come out? 2013. September 17th, 2013 is when GTA came out. So, yes, it's been a while. It's been at least, let's see, 24 now, so about 11 years? Or am I stupid? Am I bad at math? Oh, I hate that my brain doesn't work. Let's see. 2013. And then we'll just minus that by 2024. Yep, 11. I was right. I had to correct myself just to make sure I wasn't dumb. Yep, it's 11 years. Oh, and you said it right there. Thanks. I had to do it for myself. I had to make sure. Oh, if it looked like GTA 5 natural for... Yeah. I remember back in the day, I wasn't allowed to play games all that, especially GTA. Oh my goodness. Definitely not allowed to play that game. But I had a friend's house that I'd go to and go down the street, go to my friend's house, and I, for like 2 hours, just playing GTA. Just go over there to play GTA. Nobody's going to talk about GTA. Are they remaking San Andreas? Is that an actual thing that they're doing? Like, San Andreas. Let's see. Remake? Is that even a thing? I haven't heard of it. Unreal 5 fan con. Oh, it looks like there's a fan concept of it in Unreal Engine 5. It failed. Everybody wants GTA 6, not San Andreas. I actually didn't play that. I think that was a little bit before my time. Was that for PlayStation 2 or was that for yeah, what did that come out for? That was 2004. So yeah, probably the PS2. Let's see. Genre, composer. Yep, PlayStation 2. I remember playing on the I remember being a little kid and my dad had a PS2 and I just remember we were not allowed to touch it. That PS2 was his prize for his first material possession and he did not want anybody breaking it. The controllers too. Don't touch the controllers. They were expensive back then, I think. Well, I guess they were cheaper than the Xbox, but yeah, do not touch my PS2 controller. But later on, I think probably I must have been like 10 or something at the time, and we got another PS2 that we actually played on. And my favorite game when I was a kid to play on that was Lego Indiana Jones. I played that game to death. I love that game. Haven't played it in like 10 years, but that was my PS2 game. And a couple other things. We had a couple other games that we played on there. Jack and Daxter 2. Played that a lot. That was a fun one. I actually wanted to stream. Like, I kind of wanted to, if I can ever find another PS2, I kind of want to get some of those old PS2 games and stream them. I think that would be fun. Just going back and playing them. Okay, I need to fix these as well over here. So I actually just select everything that's broken and recalculate. Normals, recalculate outside. There we go. Nice and easy fix. And I do believe, let's see if I actually did a good job on here. Wow, that looks terrible. Let's turn that to closest. It looks like the floor isn't connected properly. Or maybe it is. Because it's a top-down view. We're kind of missing a few parts. That's not very good. Dun, 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 dun. Let's just duplicate all these pieces and drag them down, and that'll finish our wall. There we go. Game development right there, folks. This also looks terrible. I need to fix this. So we're just going to do that. And if I do it right, this should all be engulfed in shadow. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but we definitely don't want it to look too bad. This already still looks terrible. Dang, I'm old. Got flashbacks of my dad sharing. Sorry, guys. I need to put my glasses on because I'm blind and I can't read. Staring me confused when I said Saga Mega Drive. Only works when I plug it into a TV. Oh my goodness. So, I never had a Sega console growing up. That just never existed in my life. I was, being a Zoomer and all that. Let's see. Oh my gosh. I have seen these though. It's still $180. It cost $180 to buy one of these. Oh my goodness. Yeah, look at that. Look at that beauty of a console right there. That is this is a masterpiece. And that controller. Man, game consoles were they were a fashion statement, I tell you. It was a fashion statement to have a certain console. Nope, I just had NES and SNES. The SNES. That was what I grew up with. Hello, welcome. We are making games and talking about games and discussing the things and the things we experienced in childhood. Greetings from France. You're doing great. Love getting inspired to make games. Glad. Yeah. I hope we can inspire. Yeah. Let's continue. I am currently just making the windmill. So does the model spawn when you're near? So the basically it renders the geometry as it enters. So there's kind of a buffer on the sides, and then it renders whatever's on screen. So you don't have to. Not everything in the scene will render. Yeah. A Spectrum 40K or 48K? I have never heard of that. Let me look it up. Let me learn. I love learning things. Let's see. That's not what I wanted. I did not say that. Control C. And then let's just drop that into there. The ZX Spectrum. The ZX Spectrum, an 8-bit home computer developed and marketed by Sinclair Research, considered one of the most influential computers ever made. Wow. Oh, showing my age. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I feel like I probably missed out a little bit not being in that generation, but maybe it wasn't the worst thing. I didn't have as much fluoride in my water, I guess. But yeah. I love learning about those old computers, though. They're super cool stuff. My PC was one black and white monitor and sound card, and no sound card. Oof. The 80s and 90s, best years for games. Yeah, I think my greatest example of that, the Ultima games. Those were really fun to play. Awesome RPGs. And music. Yeah. I can't really speak on music too much. I'm not a big music guy myself. Having my ear issues, but I can definitely say that I know a lot of people who feel the same way. I definitely can't quite relate with my generation all that much when it comes to certain things. I don't know. The 2000s kids just are a little bit too crazy. There's a little too much TikTok, which I still don't understand. In movies, yeah, incomparable cheese. Neither. Addicted to the internet. Yeah, the internet brain rot is just a little too intense for me. I definitely don't. I don't know. I'm just not a big. I'm not as connected that way. I'm not connected to the internet as much. I'm very focused on very specific things. I don't like. I think. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube. I guess that's about it. The year 2000 is when everything started changing. I don't know about that. I think that things every 10 years, every generation changes quite a bit. As soon as there's a new generation, things are going to change. It's just kind of how it goes. Like just the differences between the 80s and the 70s and the 80s, like that changed a ton. And then from the 80s to the 90s, I mean, you can just go back and look at the media that was coming out at those times and see how much it's changed. I was 20 years old. Wow. I was not even born. It was a year before me. 44. Any plans making 2D platformers or teaching us how to make one? If I do, I'll still use Armory. So I don't think I would do 2D platformers in UPBGE just because, I mean, I guess you could. The tools for it, though, just aren't very good. 2D platformers take some stuff. I don't know. I have tried in the past to make 2D games, but it's just, I mean, it's a 3D engine and it just doesn't have. Here's a good example. To make a proper 2D game and a 2D platformer, you would generally use an orthographic perspective. So it's perfectly flat. You don't have any perspective in it. But say some of the raycast and the camera set, like if you do a camera over, for example, it doesn't work. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll do it event. You know what? We'll do it. I'll make a video about it. I'll do a 2D platformer video just to show how it'd be done in UPBGE. Otherwise, I definitely would use Armory because Armory has a, as you saw if you were watching the last stream. Praise Jeebs. Blender is easy for 2D animations. Yes, but in the game engine, it's not quite the same. Maybe, you know what? I'll have to do some tutorials. I have to go and do some Blender tutorials myself. I'll have to go watch my own. In fact, does anybody know a good video about doing 2D sprite animations in Blender? What a good video for that would be. Let me see if I can find one. Could one use grease pencil for characters? You could. You can use grease pencil animation, I believe. Oh, yeah, there's a guy who does that. There's actually a guy who uses UPBG. UPBGE grease pencil. And he does some stuff, yeah. 4 years ago, 3 years. These are old videos, but I mean, quite a few of them. Making effects with grease pencil. Let me pull this up. So, as you can see, Blender BGE has some grease pencil stuff. And you can use modifiers and things like that to change them. The thing is, I don't know if you can do frame-by-frame animation in UPBGE. That's the thing I don't know if that works. I know you can animate the modifiers, but I don't know if frame-by-frame works. There's tutorials on how to make games in Godot. There's tutorials on how to make games in Godot. Yeah, or did I must have missed something. Grease pencil characters. Can you use empties as a character? Yeah, you could. Easy to change meshes. Make games in Godot. There is one guy who makes games in 0.3 or 0.43 alpha. I don't know how he manages not to make it crash. Yeah. I mean, it's going to crash. It's an experimental version. If you're serious about making games, learn to code. You know what? It's kind of, yeah. So here's the thing. You've ever toyed with Unity? Yes. So I actually was thinking about switching to Unity. So last year, I put a lot of time and that's when I was learning C#. And I wanted to use Unity, and then they obviously had their fiasco with the pricing, and they started charging per install, which is terrible. But Unity 6 is now, I believe it's out, and they got rid of the pricing thing. So I was even thinking about switching to Unity, or going back to Unity, because overall the engine is really good. I mean, the render is great. The games you can make in Unity are very nice. Great performance. It's just an industry standard engine at this point. I would actually use Unity over Unreal Engine anytime. Even though that Unity doesn't have like a dedicated logic node, I actually prefer coding in C#. I would code in C# for Unity before I learned the visual scripting nodes that Unreal has. That's a personal thing. I remember trying to use Unreal and trying to use those nodes. Did not work for me. It was terrible. I had a terrible experience. So yeah, I would mess with Unity again. Yeah, glad to share it. I don't know if it's I don't know if they're hot takes or whatever, but those are my feelings. And I was thinking about, I did have some thoughts about Godot and using it. Is the range engine good for 2D platforming? That is a good question. So, one thing, how do I put this? Can't wait for the node update. Can't wait for the nodes update. Yeah, 2025 is looking pretty big for it. I'm really excited to see what the nodes look like when they come out and what kind of power they have. Very excited for that. Because I would use Range Engine personally if it didn't use Python. If Range Engine had a different scripting language, I would use it. I just hate Python. Can't stand it. What was I going to look up? I was going to look something up. Oh, yeah. Here. 1 second. I'm going to pull up. You asked if Range Engine is good for 2D platforming. Here is something. Do I even still have it? Oh, I took it off the... let me see if it's still in my... Do I even still... I made a game in Range Engine, a 2D platformer. It was terrible. I mean, I ran into some bugs, so it wasn't the best, but maybe the new version will be faster with more features. Or UPBG E4. Yeah. Again, my personal opinion about UPBG E4, I hope they stick with it. I hope that they stick with that version for a while and make it really stable. Like if it could just be stable, that would be the biggest thing. Because my biggest grievance with UPBGE, especially 0.42, I mean, I can't complain about it too much. It's still experimental. It's just not stable. It crashes all the time. Try to make something, it'll crash. You try to change a property, it crashes. So. And the speed. I mean, everybody who's used UPBGE 3.6, 3.0, or 0.42, it's slow. It is so slow when it comes to rendering. Even, like, my computer has a 4080 in it, and I still run into performance issues. It's just slow. And that's the biggest reason why I'm using Armory to build this project, is because it's a lot faster. So yeah. Speaking of that, we should probably get a little bit more done here before I quit for today. I want to get at least this mechanic done. So let me just change, let me make sure that this is flipped. There we go. So this is where the character actually unlocks the first part of the quest, so I need to make sure that that's done. There we go, turn off face orientation. So let's start out by let's just do the woodshed. Get that done. And I'm actually, just to make things nice, maybe I won't worry about it. It'll be fine. It's fine. Let's click on the floor, and I'm just going to make a new collection for hitboxes. So in here, let's go new. No. Here we go. Select this. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired. Been waking up at like 4 or 5 a.m. for my new job, and it's been killing me. I feel so slow, sluggish. Okay, here we go. Where is my floor plane? There we go. So let's just make some collisions so our character doesn't just fall through the floor. Like so. And make sure that this is set to wire. Then I need to put it inside the hitbox collection, new collection. And this is going to be houses. Wow, my caps lock is on. Houses. Hitboxes. Hitbox. Wow. Man, spelling is just not good. 4 a.m. Yeah, pain. It has not been fun. I am not a morning person, and I have to go to bed at like 7 p.m. so I can wake up at 4 a.m. Because if I don't, I will sleep right through my alarms. I sleep like the dead, I would say. I have no ability to wake up. There we go. Hitbox is done. Now I need to actually make it a static object. So make it passive, give it a hitbox, and that should be good. So now what I need to do is make the ability... It's 8 a.m. here, or 8 p.m. here. Nice. That's why I think 8 p.m. is like one of my. It used to be my favorite time to work. Is 8 p.m. Sit down and then chill out, and then it'd be the perfect way to wind down and then go to bed. It is. It's 1 p.m. for me. It's like midday, afternoon, and the weather is changing. It's getting very windy, and it's gonna freeze again. Okay, so let's just select this and add in an empty. So basically what I want to do is take this empty and make it so the player will spawn on this empty. So we will do something like that. And we'll have to adjust it because the player is going to either spawn in the floor or spawn too high up and then fall down. We want it to be nice and flush with the floor. For now, this will work. And I'm going to make a new collection. And this collection is going to be called House Spawners. Yeah, we'll do House Spawners. Kind of doesn't make sense. We might change the name, but it'll work for now. Put that in here, and we're going to call this shed underscore ent for entrance. And this is where we're going to spawn our character, so he'll hang out there. Okay, so now what I need to do is come over here, and here's our shed. So I need to make it so when you collide with the door, you walk in. This is another thing about this old game. So because it was made on the NES controller only had 2 buttons on it. So in the original game, you interacted with things by colliding with them. There was no key or no button input. 2D game editor? What do you mean by 2D game editor? You want to expand on that? 2D game editor. What does that mean? I'm interested. So, as I was saying, since there was very few inputs, since the character interacted with it, it was pretty easy. I mean, remaking it is not going to be that hard. Question is, do I want to keep it? Because it was kind of annoying in the original game. Because every time you collided with a NPC, it would open up the dialogue, and it didn't have more dialogue. It was just the same thing over and over. And you'd be trying to escape the town and always colliding with NPCs. Trying to get out of there. All right. So I need to just make a little hitbox here. And I need to put this in a new collection. Button press to enter instead. Yeah, so it depends on how close I want to be to the original game. If I want to follow the original game exactly and do all the inputs the same as the original game, I would just have the character walk into it. But for the sake of modernization and making a quality of life update, I'll probably add a button press. Yeah, it just depends. Like, I haven't really... This is a game that it seems like the... How should I say it? The people who played this game back in the day and the people who still kind of follow it, I don't know if they're going to... If they're the people that play it... Yeah, and depends on the mood. I think we'll try it the original way just to keep it... I want to keep things as close to the original as possible. I'm obviously going to be doing some updates, like the graphics I'm going to make look a lot nicer, since it's a 3D game. But as far as mechanics go, I want to keep it pretty much the same as the original game. I don't want to change anything that's... I don't want to change that stuff too much. There were some things, though, with combat that were very annoying because of the limitations. So we might update those. I don't know. Plus, it might be hard to do the combat exactly. We'll see. But for now, I need to actually make a new collection for my sensor here. And this is going to be called Door Sensors. There we go. So a door sensor collection. Now I can come down here. And this is going to be the shed. And shed door. Or shed underscore sensor. Let's do that. Was I censor? Was I censor? I don't know what that means. Oh, sensor or sensor? Yeah. Am I dumb? Did I spell sensor wrong? I think sensor depends on what. Oh, sensor would like sensor with a C would be like you're censoring something. Like if you the government is censoring you, that would be that would be that sensor. Sensor as in like you're sensing something and it's like a fifth sense or a sixth sense would be S on the sensor. So I think the letter changes depending. Yeah, redaction blurring. Yeah, that like sensor would yeah. It's going good. We are still working on Crystalis. Still remaking the game. That's what we're doing today. And it's going good. How's everybody else doing? Hope the day's going well. Okay, door sensor. Let's make this so just turn it into a wireframe as well. There we go. And I also want to make it so it does not render in the game. And for the collision, we got to change something. So we're going to do a passive collision, make it a box, and this passive collision is going to be a trigger. So that way, the player won't interact or won't get stopped by it. The player can, it'll kind of be like a ghost, like in UPBG, it'd be ghost. We're just going to put it on trigger. Kind of the same thing there. So now that we have that, let's give it a new name. Oh, we already did. Already ahead of myself. And let's go back to code. So we got player movement. I'm actually going to do a different script for this. Let me actually just put this in here. And move that there. Okay, let's make a new script. And I'm actually going to I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I also need to do a door sensor on the inside of the shed so the player can actually leave, but that'll be in time. So now that we have this sensor, let's just click on the player. I'm just going to add a new script to the player. Keep it nice and simple. So we'll just go here, new nodes, new tree, and we're going to call this, what should I call it? What would be a good name for transporting the player? Let's see. Transition. Yeah, player. No, player transition. It would be you know what? We'll just call it houses. I'll rename it later. I don't know. My brain. Yeah, sensor. There we go. Are you censoring the sensor? Okay, now that we have houses, let's go into our logic. Put that there. So I need to make it so what's it called? Contact. On contact. So this is actually the collision node for this engine. There's 2D game editor. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. Their 2D game editor. Like Armor's 2D game editor? Who's 2D game editor? I do not know. I am unclear. Okay, so on contact. So this is going to be when our object, so we can leave that blank since it's applied to the player. I wish I had something sensible to suggest, but I could think of was rooms. Yeah, room switch. Oh, you know what? Maybe room switch would be fine. Yep. I think Armory doesn't have a 2D game editor, but it does have a way to draw 2D sprites to the screen. How can we access it? I don't know. Here, let me... Where is it? Now I'm lost. How do I access the So something Armory does have, it's not a 2D workspace, but it does have a canvas. So you can add, like for example, you can add a canvas node and you can create a canvas element. The game editor. I'm so confused. I am so sorry. I don't know. The game editor. I have no idea what. I would have to think about it. I don't even know. How do you access the canvas? It's all right. Sorry, I got confused too. Yeah, no worries. I don't know. Like I feel like there's something. I don't know. It's fine. We'll move on for now, and then we'll come back to it later. Now for me, let's see. There is a way, and I'm gonna have to access it later, anyways. To add, there's a canvas to access, and I don't remember how to do it. How do you open the canvas? Because you can add UI elements. So people who are familiar with Unreal Engine, Armory has a very similar UI canvas system. There's plenty of examples on their website for 2D games, for like platformers and stuff. I'll have to look at them later. Okay, I gotta do this. I gotta get this done. So I'm gonna make a call group that I'm gonna be able to reuse. So let's just make the base logic work, and then we'll be able to make a proper group and then reuse it. So what I want to do is say on beginning. So when the player starts to collide, because we can do beginning, overlap, and end. End would be you collide with something, and then once you remove yourself and there's no longer a collision, it'll activate. Overlap, which the character has to, the meshes have to actually overlap to activate, and then begin. So we're going to use begin, and I'm going to select my shed sensor. Let's see. But there's some coding that is required. Okay. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what needs to be done, because I'd love to check that out. Being able to do proper 2D games would be pretty awesome. So if there's actual resources on it, then I would love to maybe do a stream on it at some point and try to figure it out then. Okay, so when I collide with my shed sensor, let's just say set location, set object location. Object I want to set the location of is myself, so I don't have to change anything there. Let's get location. Look at the object's location. And the object we want to get is going to be our spawner over here. So let's just grab the location of our shed entrance. And theoretically, if we are correct, this should already work. So if I press play, and hopefully it doesn't crash when I do this, when we collide with this door, ooh, my animation's broken. And it's all slow. That's weird. There we go. Uh-oh. Okay, so it spawned us a little too low. And wait, let's see. Let me make sure that it's on this. Oh, it's a little bit higher than our original plane, I think. Let's see. Yeah, so here's our world plane. And it's that much higher. Okay. So let me just move these down. And I'll probably do the same for the... we'll just do these two for now. So I actually got to make it so they're the same level. I'm just going to come in here and eyeball it. Drunken cam. Oh, was I getting a little too loosey-goosey with the movement? I hope not. Oh yeah, we got to set the camera position too, because it's going to try to slow follow. And it's not going to look very good. So we got to change that. For now that we got that fixed, let's see if this works now. See if our character actually spawns on the right level. Dun 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 dun. There we go. And we're still... Let's see if I move over here. Can I see myself? Where are we? Our character's lost. Am I falling through the floor? Did I not do something right here? Let's see. Where are we? Passive, we're good there. Let's just move this up so the character actually falls down. Here's the slow part. Trying to edit the game and then fine-tune things. It's just compile and compile and compile. Why is my animation broken? Oh, man, that's annoying. Okay, so the character's falling through the floor. Why is that? Why are we falling through? More debug. Please tell me why. I wish to know. Wait, where's my collision box at? Okay, it's here. Why is it broken? Do floors have collisions? Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at here. I do have this hitbox here that should be working. So why is my character still falling through is the question. Let me... Oh, the scale is -13. That's not good. Let's change that and see if that fixes it. I don't know why the scale was negative. That's kind of wacky. Hopefully this will work. Please work. My animation's already... Oh, it's so unfortunate. Oh my goodness. Set object location. I'm actually curious. What if I just expand that? Because there's no level. The character stays on the same level all the time in this map. So what if I just make the collision, just boost out my floor here, and it's level there. Okay. Let's see if the character will interact with this one. Otherwise, I'm going to have to change some stuff. Or figure out why the character's not working. Okay. Hey, there we go. Obviously, we can still walk through the door, but this is fine. Oh, I need to fix that animation. Why are you broken? What did I change? Hey, it worked, though. First try, yeah, every time. First try, every time. And it'll work for all of our rooms now, so I would say that's a win. I need to change this one, though. Let's see. There we go. Let's just make it so this is on the same level. Ugh. Throwing things around too much. Okay, now I gotta change this and come over here. There we go. And then I can just move it back over. Efficient, too. Yeah, I guess it could be efficient. I also need to do this house, or the windmill. This one needs to be changed to be the same level. Nice. Okay. So now what I need to do, among other things of adding collisions to the proper spots, I need to add collisions to the walls. But let's make it so the character actually can return back to the front door. So we have it spawning here. We need to add another empty. So we'll just add one here. Plain access empty. And this is going to be the shed _ exit. And I need to put this in the proper collection. So it's going to go into house spawners. So we'll put it there. Down here. Sweet. So what I'll do is go over to our shed. And at the entrance. Empties. What we'd do without these. I know, they're kind of the bread and butter when it comes to game development. You always need your empties. What would you do without empties? Let's add in a door sensor here. And we'll scale that one down, put it right here. So the character has to get kind of it to the edge. And we'll add no chance for any funny business. There we go. And let's just put that on a rigid body. We'll make it passive, make it a box, and we will turn it on to trigger. Then let's just make it visually pleasing by making it basically invisible. Doing our thing, putting it in door sensors, and giving it the name shed underscore sensor underscore exit. And you'll see that I use underscores a lot. I find that it's just good practice to put underscores, because in Armory in some instances can be picky about how you name things. So I always put underscores. No spaces, always underscore. Alrighty, so now what I need to do is make it so, in fact, I can duplicate this. And this will be part of our call node as well. And I'm just going to put this as the shed exit. In fact, let's just do this really quick. We'll make this one and call it exit. And then do the same here, Control J, and then call this one entrance. Entrance. Good enough. Oh, man. Okay, so now what I can do is we got our shed exit here, and the location we want is going to be our empty that's in front of our shed. This is actually, I learned this technique from a Unity video, a Unity tutorial, and I just took it and modified it for, UPBGE and Armory. It's basically, once you learn like concepts, it's actually pretty simple to add them to different engines. It's just about knowing how the systems work. So I can now choose my location of my shed exit. Wow, that did not select the right thing. And we have to do this right. So when the character exits, we need to make it so the character's far enough away from the collider not to trigger back into it, because you don't want an infinite loop with the character going between spots. So let's see if this actually works now. Let's save our progress, clean the game. Always clean your projects. Oh! This water bottle is a deadly weapon. Oh, stay hydrated. There's gravity? There is gravity, yes. And the reason there's gravity is, well, I guess I could turn it off for the Z-axis, but since I'm using linear velocity for my movement, it does use physics, and so it's using the gravity settings. So, and that's how I get my collisions. There we go. So now we can walk around in our shed with our broken animations. I gotta fix that, but it's fine. And it makes me wonder if it's because... I wonder if it needs to be tied to delta time. The animations might need to be tied to delta time. Yeah. So let's just see if we can exit. And we spawn back here. So here's another question, and I'll leave this to you guys. Should I make it so the character has an animation of leaving the building, like they come through the doorway and then end up in the spot they are, or should it just be instant like spawn? That's a big bottle. You could use it for. That's a big bottle. You could use it for self-defense. Yeah, it's got a really nice handle on it too. Watch that. Look at this. See that handle? It's great for just grabbing like that, and then you could just clonk people with it. If you're ever walking alone in a dark alley, just always carry that bad boy. Oh, did you see it? Oh, man. Look what happens if I just press the key over and over. Oh, it's so bad. We gotta fix that. But proof of concept, it's working. Let's make it so the camera also follows properly. So it actually just sets the camera. So all we have to do for that is just take this, duplicate it. I like the plant. It would be cool if you could water them. Yeah. I mean, that could be a cool mechanic. I don't know how. Maybe I'll do it as an Easter egg. There'll be like a little Easter egg quest where you can water the plants. That might be cool. We can add anything. We can add anything we want as soon as we get done with the base mechanics. Okay, so I need to set the location to our spawner. I need to do this when we collide with this, and the object that I want to set is our slow camera. Then I'll just do the same here, duplicate this, move this up so it's not intersecting with our other stuff. Connect that there, select my slow camera. Okay, let's see if our camera properly sets. Because this is the thing. Okay, slow camera still works, nothing's broken. Whoa, okay. That was strange. Okay, yeah. Oh, it makes sense, because we're still spawning the player way up in the air right now. That's fine. Hey, look at that, though. We can go between areas. Let's make it so it looks a little bit smoother. In fact, I think the character over here is spawning a little too far away from the doorway. Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we can, hopefully it looks a little bit better. Now, also something it's invisible in our viewport, but we need to turn the render off for my shed exit there. And I need to come over to my empty. That's way up in the air. And what I'll do is just move it down, and we'll see how much we need to move it to make it so the character is flush with the empty or with the floor when we spawn. Because we want it to make it look like the character is not just falling into place. Yeah, so we're still a little bit too high off the ground. I think we need to move down about half a unit. Try that out. See how that looks. And then it's just fine tuning from there. There we go. And then we'll fix the animations. Oh, still a little bit high. And still a little bit high there. We'll move it down just a little bit more. And then let's go over to this and do the same here. Just a little bit too high. So we'll try that. We also don't want it to be too low, otherwise the character will fall through the floor, and that would never be good. That would be a bad day for the player. Okay. Oh man, we're still a little bit high. Okay, it looks like we're the perfect level coming out. There we go. Animation suggestion. 2 steps upon entering and exiting the building. Yeah, that might be nice. Like having it so the player will stop and then walk into the building and then walk out of the building. That could be good. Yeah. So another thing, I think what I'm gonna do just to make the transition a little bit smoother is add a fade in and fade out effect, and then have it so the character, just like you're saying, have it so the character actually takes a couple of steps. Like in the Legend, Zelda is a very good example. Like when you walk into a building in Legend of Zelda, your character kind of walks forward as you enter and exit. Okay, let's fix this animation. There's something so wrong with that. As soon as I lower this one more time. So, right about there. Hopefully that's enough. What is going on with this animation? How did that break? My animation timeline hasn't changed. Everything's good there. Hey, welcome. Happy weekend to you too. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. I think what we need to do is make it work. I think that might actually help. Also, let's get rid of that print and turn on frame counter. Let's see if it's the frame. Let's see if there is a issue with our frame rate. I am trying to get better with low polygon, low spec 3D, and your work here is inspiring. Yeah, oh, nice. Yeah, I'll have to check out your work. Yeah, I think low poly stuff is my favorite. I actually prefer low poly styles over realistic stuff. I just feel like, oh man, why is that happening? Let me check my. However, I have never played Crystalis. I don't think you have to be able to play this game, but it's just an old NES game from the 90s. It's a pretty cool game though. I would if you have the option or the ability and you have like a NES, I definitely recommend seeing if you can find it. It's a really cool game. For its time, it was actually quite a bit, quite a big game for the time. Let me see. I need to check my console really quick. And as you can see, the frames are still good. We're still getting about 150 FPS. So there's no problems there. So there's definitely an issue. It's probably the timing then. Let's disable that again. Why is our intervals wrong? And does it have to do 120, 120? Because it worked fine earlier. I need to not get too caught up in it. I need to not get too crazy with the... It's a little bit discouraging, though. Let's see. Why are you busted? Also, the animation looks slow. Like, why is it slow? The frame rate is slow, and the character it's cutting off. Wait a minute. What did I change? I just changed the frame rate. Now it's fine. Or the animation speed. Oh, look, yeah, it looks fine. There's a little bit. You can see that the animation doesn't cut off properly, but it is working again. Let's see. Let's see. What about just black plane overlay the triggers when you go through the door as the name location on it, so it's timed. That way, it removes when the character has fully touched the ground. You could do something like that. I think it might look better if I just turn the do a fade between areas. I don't know, because it doesn't take long. Like the actual time between the character. In fact, we can actually see it here. It's pretty much instant. Like there's no loading time. So I think the transition of a fade might just be okay. Oh, the animation is so busted. I don't know. I don't like the way I'm doing animation. I'm going to have to fix that. So what inspired you to make 3D version of this? Previously, I've seen someone make a 3D version of the first Zelda world. Yeah, so there's a guy. In fact, I kind of got inspired. There's a couple of things. I'll kind of go over two things that inspired me here. What's the guy's name? Let's see. If I just type in 3D Zelda... If I can actually spell. That's not how you spell that. It's fine. Zelda 1. I know exact. Yep. So this is kind of what I think of. And let me just close that for now. So I watched this video a while back. I mean, this was 3 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. And this guy made 3D Zelda. So that kind of was the first catalyst. I had this idea in my head for, I mean, I guess 3 years at this point. And then I was visiting my dad, and we were playing Crystalis. Like, we were just playing it on the NES. So I was like, hey, why don't I just make Crystalis in 3D? And it wasn't supposed to be a game project. Like, I kind of just modeled the town of Leaf here. And I was like, oh, this is looking pretty cool. And then I started messing around with some game mechanics. And then it turned into a whole project. And I got quite far in it. I got a bunch of stuff implemented before I broke it and forgot about it. But ultimately, it was my dad kind of inspiring me and telling me I should make it, so I did. And that's kind of how I started. Now it's been on kind of the back burner, and I'm trying to revive it once again. Yeah. So I'm hoping I can stick with it and just get it done. Okay, maybe we'll go through and see if we can't work on the animations. Kind of get those flushed out a little. What I'm thinking I might have to do is just look up the documentation and then code it, because I think that might be easier. Yeah, there's like a weird slide the character. So if I do this, yeah, if I just press the button over and over, it doesn't loop properly. It should reset and continue. And whenever I go through the door, we can always see that the character animation breaks again. Yeah, I don't know why that happens. That's so bizarre. So it must be a cycle thing. What is happening? Again, let me just open up the let's see, Armory 3D. Let's open that up and see if we can't find the document. Oh wait, I could have just clicked on it and here, wait a minute, I can just do this. Here's a little tip if anybody's trying to use Armory. You can go over to the Armory tab here, and then just where it says open Python source, you can also open the hack source. And then it'll just automatically open this documentation. Oh, they updated the website. Wow, that's new. Look at that. This wasn't this way a little while ago. This must have just happened. It looks a lot cleaner. So I got some updates for Armor Paint, Armor Lab, and Armory 3D. Did they actually update this? Still the 4 point. It's the 09, which is what I have. Cool though. Looks like they actually updated. Good luck on the project. Thank you. There's a Zelda Doom mod. I'm not surprised, honestly. There's a Doom mod for everything. Oh, that's actually hilarious. Imagine. You know what? I would love to play that. How do the animations look though in the game? How do animations look through the game camera? Okay, I guess. I don't know. I forgot about Armory and Blender. Yeah. I forgot about it for a long time. Just recently getting back into it. Previously there was the Blender game engine, which was last used in 2.79. Yeah, I've been using that one for a long time. Yeah, 2.79. UPBG 2.0 and 2.5 use that the 2.79 framework. And then there's a range engine that also uses the 2.7 base. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was looking for the documentation. So let me just close that and see if I can pull up the documentation again. Where'd I have it? There we go. So I'm actually kind of curious. We did find this is actually the this is the raw code for the animation node. And it looks like there's a lot to it. So let's just take a look here. For one, we have our imports. We need to import our object animation, the object, the scene, float array. So I'm wondering, would it actually be easier to just code the animations instead of trying to use the node? And then making like an enum list and then switching using enums. I'm wondering if that would be better. Wait, does Armory even have enums? Or I mean, Hacks. I don't know if Hacks has enums. Var object input. So this would be the red sockets for the node. Object null return. Animation is skinned. Ooh, I might have to do that off camera. There's a lot to that. Play action node. I wonder what the difference is. Play action from and then play action. Var object and then run output. Var animation equals object animation. Okay. So that's that. Let's see. I sometimes use Godot. Some other times I use Unity 3D. Yeah, both are pretty good engines. I know that there was a big, obviously, the new drama with Godot. Everybody talking about that stuff. I don't know if it... What a weird situation. I don't even know if I should get into that. I mean, it's so bizarre. Such a bizarre turn of events for Godot. But yeah, I would say that as far as Godot goes... yeah, pretty much. And yeah, I would avoid it mostly because it's such a polarizing topic that it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy. But as far as the game engine goes, and just forgetting about, the Twitter stuff, I would say that it's okay. Like, if you're using it, as far as engine goes, perfectly fine. I used it. I made a couple projects in Godot, and I actually really enjoyed it. If you're looking to make 2D platformers, Godot is really good for that. It's super easy to get into 2D platforming with Godot. 3D games, I did not like the physics. The physics engine in Godot is terrible. You have to get a mod for it to make it good. They used to, unless you use the 3.0 version for it. I think Godot 3 still used bullet physics, so it actually worked then. But my experience with Godot 4 was kind of, as far as 3D projects go, I don't know. I wasn't impressed with it all that much. And then Unity, I think I might try to do some future Unity stuff. I think it might be fun making some Unity games. I made a Unity platformer actually for a game jam. Here, let me just pull it up. Bum 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 bum. Yeah, there we go. This was, and I think project, is it Antoinette or Antonet? Was the name for 2D platform project Rhinon for a 3D racing project. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this really quick. This was my first game I made in Unity. And I made this for a game jam. I think it got one of the lowest ratings. Oh, right on. I mean, you have to have a naming scheme of some sort. That's pretty good. Yeah. So you can pick up your weapon. So you can attack once you pick it up. Have you ever tried learning Game Maker? No, I have it actually installed on my computer, and I opened it and then closed it and never touched it. I did plan on making a video about it though. How many years ago did you make it? I made this one, I don't even think it's been a year yet. It's been 6 months I made this. So I made it so you have an ability, so you can pick up the vial and then you can throw it. As you can see, it uses your HP when you attack with the it's a blood attack. I think that's what the theme for the game jam was, like you lose health when you do something, and then if you what was the button? Oh yeah, if you press E, you can use like the rose, which was the special item for the game jam. Yeah, it was kind of the idea, something like that. And then you can attack, and then you can revive, like you can use your little ability, and it'll make a little dude. The little dude follows you and gives you health. And then after this character uses it, or the little dude gives you health, it'll just disintegrate. But as you can see, I'm going to kind of demonstrate this other little mechanic. I was really proud of this, by the way. This was oh, I forgot there's a little parkour part of it. Here, let me do this and demonstrate. That'll be the last thing I do. Thank you. This was like my little pixel art thing that I did. Oh. So you can revive and create your little dude, and you can see he actually eats something. And once he eats something, he actually gains health and can give you more health. The idea, I'm gonna turn this off because I can't hear myself think with the audio. The idea was you'd have the little minion, it'd follow you around, and if you could get the minion to eat the enemies before it healed you too much and explodes, it would evolve. So I wanted to add an evolution system. And I never got around to it because I didn't have time in the game jam. But I thought it would be cool to have it like evolve into bigger creatures as it consumed enemies. But yeah, that was my first Unity game. Thank you. I have no idea. I think it's gone. It's now gone to the winds of time, but that was the thing. Oh, and this was my range engine game. It was a 2D project. We'll download it just for fun. It's definitely broken though. Oh yeah, you can see my face is in the way actually, but I'll just put it here. There's Game Maker. I was gonna do a video on it. So maybe eventually. Let's see. Let me just pull this up. I have no idea if this game's actually gonna work. I just remember it being so broken. Let's go 7-zip. Extract. There we go. We'll do that. Let's extract this file. You should. Okay, you should. It would be a good video idea, and you should try to make something in it. Yeah, I definitely want to. I think Game Maker is for like you can make RPGs and stuff. I think it has a lot of functionality for platformers, all sorts of things like that. And I think it'd be really cool to make a game in it, just for fun. I want to try making a game. My idea for the future is touch grass on the. Yeah, thank you. That was my. I was just bored one day and made that. I thought it'd be a good screensaver. What was I saying? I was saying something and I totally forgot what I was talking about. And now I need to... Here, one second. I gotta... Where did that just export to? Well, that's gone. Let's try that again on the desktop. Turn off my Steam stuff. Okay, let's see if that actually worked. Come back. Oh my gosh, I just saw like 300 birds fly past my window. That was crazy. They are going nuts out there. Oh my goodness. Okay, I think it's done. It says Santa's Bad Day. Oh yeah, Santa's Bad Day, I guess is what I called it. Let's see if this even works. Bird's the word, yeah. So, here you go, guys. Let me unmute so you can hear my beautiful, this beautiful music. I'll make it a little bit lower though. There we go. This was my Armory or my range engine project. Oh my gosh, it is so loud. It's fine. So, the idea is you have to parkour your way, and you have to pick up these packages. How do you pick up? Oh, there we go. You middle mouse click. And you gotta take the package to the Christmas tree. And then you drop it. Somehow. I broke the game. I'm pressing bad buttons. There we go. Parkour Santa. Anvils for Christmas? Yeah. See, they're little elves dropping anvils on you. And I fell through the floor a little bit. It's fine. Oh, there we go. It's a little bit buggy. Let's see if I can complete the first level. Oh my goodness. There we go. And then the sound just kind of loops over and over. Oh, I added a little button too. Oh, I think this was another... Yep, and he fell off the screen. So, that's that. There's a main menu, and I added a level select to it. And, so you can select different levels. Oh. Oh. I think this is probably one of the worst games I've ever made in my life. Oh. How did I... Oh, that's right. I made it so you have to put the presents on the button to open the door. So I have to go up now. Might as well try delivering packages up to the Empire State Building. Yeah. Okay. Oh. And I fell through again. Anyways, that's that. That was another one. I'll show you one more of the games I made. This is called Jump Game. Wait, is this... What game is this? I don't remember making this one. Oh, yes! This is another game I made. Jump Game, yeah. Basically, the idea for this game is you're like trash, and you're supposed to be able to like... Each level you would change into a different piece of trash, and you had to get to the top of the level and get to a trash can to win the game. And then it would like progress and you'd be a different piece and you'd have to do that. It's completely a physics-based game, kind of like Bennett Foddy style mechanics. So let me show you how aggravating this is. I did a playtest and it took me 70 minutes. You can see the time ticks up. Yeah. And it took me 70 minutes to beat my own game. It's that hard. And I encourage anybody to try beating my 70-minute record to beat this level. It is the most aggravating thing I think I've ever made. But overall, it works good. It doesn't glitch out. The music is repetitive. And I would give it probably a 2 out of 5 as far as stars go. But if you're touching the ground and you spam the keyboard button, and I lost, there we go. You can super speed yourself. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you can find that on itch too. It's free and it's the most aggravating thing you'll ever download. And it has menus. Really nice menus. Anyways, that's my catalog of games, and they range from okay to just aggravating. And then obviously a couple other projects like let's see what else we got here. There's the PT on the toilet game. Yeah. Glad to share. I'm hoping this Crystalis game will be a little bit better than those. I hope this is actually fun to play. And that's going to be the ultimate goal. Okay, I I was fixing the animation. It kind of works now. I think we might forget about it again until it breaks, and then move on. But it looks like I've been going for 2.5 hours now, and I need to probably do life things now and take care of the home. I want to thank you all so much for watching this stream. This has been great. The interaction has been awesome. Yeah, take care. So glad you guys joined me for this. Hopefully I can get around to streaming again. I'm going to try. I'm not going to promise anything, but I'm going to try to stream as a challenge for myself every single day after work. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. It's been awesome talking to you guys. So hopefully I'm gonna try to be on here every day after work. So you'll probably, whatever time I show up will be the consistent time. Thank you all so much. And I will see you in the next stream. Take care.